If you're sitting in Manhattan right now, do something simple. Look out the window. If the lights are still on, take a second and appreciate that fact. Because what happened inside a control room hundreds of miles north of you has quietly rewritten the rules of your daily life. It began at 9:02 a.m. sharp. On the trading floor of the New York Mercantile Exchange, it was supposed to be a normal Tuesday. Traders were sipping coffee, glancing at bond yields, worrying about inflation data. Nothing unusual. Then one ticker symbol lit up red. The forward price for electricity delivered into Zone J, New York City, didn't creep higher. It didn't surge. It jumped dimensions. In less than half a minute, the cost of 1 megawatt hour exploded from $45 to $400, then $800, then $2,000. Traders started yelling. Grid algorithms across the eastern seaboard triggered automatic emergency load shedding alerts. In plain English, that means the system was running out of power. Elevators in Boston skyscrapers slowed to conserve energy. Aluminum plants in upstate New York got automated shutdown warnings telling them to kill their furnaces immediately or face ruinous penalties. In Brooklyn, the subway slipped into low power mode, trapping trains between stations. Panic followed. Raw, unfiltered panic. People checked the weather. No blizzard. No heat wave. No hurricane. Clear skies. So what happened at exactly 9 o'clock? Canada didn't launch missiles. Mark Carney didn't send troops south. He gave a single instruction to Hydro-Quebec, the massive state-owned energy engine of the North, to update how it prices electricity. For half a century, the United States treated Canadian power like it was endless and cheap, like water from a tap. Today, that tap got tightened. This is the story of the biggest geopolitical gamble North America has ever seen. It's the story of how Donald Trump tried to strong-arm a polite neighbor and woke up to find his own country held hostage by a light switch. History is moving, and the lights are flickering. To understand why your electric bill is about to feel like a mortgage payment, we need to rewind 72 hours. This didn't come out of nowhere. It was a response, calculated and precise. 3 days ago, Donald Trump stood on a stage at a rally in Pennsylvania. You probably saw the clip. Red face, high energy, America First rhetoric. Then he pivoted to the northern border. He accused Canada of cheating, of sneaking Chinese steel into U.S. markets. He used words like parasite and freeloader, and then he went off script. He stared into the camera and said if Mark Carney didn't sign new surrender terms on the USMCA by Friday, he'd slap a 100% tariff on every electron flowing out of Canada. He said America didn't need Canadian power, that the U.S. had coal and gas and the best energy in the world. The crowd roared. Cable news laughed it off. Just Trump being Trump, they said. Pure leverage. In Ottawa, nobody laughed. Inside Canada's Privy Council office, Mark Carney watched the speech. Carney isn't built like Trump. He's an economist. Former head of the Bank of England. Former head of the Bank of Canada. He understands leverage, risk, and systems. And he understands something Trump forgot. You can't tariff physics. The moment Trump threatened electricity, he shattered an unwritten rule of continental security. Energy flows freely. And with that threat, Trump handed Carney the opening he needed. Canada went silent for 2 days. No tweets, no statements. US media assumed Carney was cornered. Headlines asked if Canada would fold. They were wrong. Carney wasn't folding. He was filing paperwork. He activated a rarely discussed clause in North American energy agreements, known as the sovereignty exception. It allows a country to prioritize its own energy security when threatened. Trump's tariff threat was the trigger. Carney didn't cut power. That would have been an act of war. He did something far smarter. He applied what he called a fair market risk adjustment. If the US president claims Canadian electricity is a security threat, then it has to be priced like one. That massive price spike wasn't a blockade. It was simply the new cost of dealing with a hostile partner. Trump wanted a trade war. Carney weaponized the market. And to understand how devastating that is, you need to understand the weapon itself. When people hear Canadian hydro, they picture a small dam and a beaver. Erase that image. Think James Bay. Think reservoirs so massive they're visible from space. These are colossal systems, holding entire rivers hostage, generating power on a scale that's hard to grasp. Quebec runs on renewables, almost entirely. It's one of the largest hydro producers on Earth. And here's the catch. It produces far more electricity than it needs. In winter, demand spikes. But in summer and mild seasons, there's a huge surplus. So for decades, Canada built enormous transmission arteries running south into the U.S. economy. Lines under Lake Champlain straight into New York City. Lines feeding Vermont, New Hampshire, Massachusetts. A shared grid known as the Northeast Power Coordinating Council. Over the last 20 years, the US made a strategic choice. Coal plants shut down. Indian Point nuclear plant closed. New gas pipelines were blocked. So how did the lights stay on? Canada. Cheap, clean, reliable Canadian power. New York gets around 20% of its electricity from the north. Vermont relies on it for base load. It worked perfectly, until it didn't. Because addiction has consequences. You can't just switch suppliers overnight. Power plants take a decade. Pipelines take years. Carney knows the timeline. He knows if pressure is applied today, the US can't fully adapt until the mid-2030s. That's the leverage. And the brilliance is in the pricing mechanism he installed. Exports to the US are now subject to a stability surcharge. Every time Trump threatens escalation, the algorithm reads instability, and the price automatically rises. Punishment without orders. Escalation equals higher costs. Calm equals relief. The market holds the remote. Inside the White House, chaos followed. 15 minutes after the spike, governors from New York and Massachusetts were calling the emergency line simultaneously. Trump's first response was disbelief. He reportedly shouted that Canada couldn't do this, demanded lawsuits, injunctions, court orders. But US judges have no authority over a Quebec Crown corporation. Paper orders. Don't move turbines. Then came anger. Trump demanded Carney on the phone, threatened to seize transmission lines. But seizing wires doesn't create electricity. Canada just opens breakers on its end, leaving the US holding dead metal. By 10 a minute, reality hit. The Energy Secretary had to explain basic physics, refuse the price, and grid operators start rolling blackouts. Manhattan goes dark during trading hours. Times Square fades. Elevators stall. Even Trump Tower isn't immune. The image would be catastrophic. Washington froze. They can't sue. They can't fight. They can't boycott. They need the power. Meanwhile, Ottawa stayed calm. No drama, just a technical briefing. Carney stood at a podium like a professor, explaining macroeconomics. He said Canada has a duty to its taxpayers to get fair value for its resources in a hostile trade environment. When asked if this was revenge, he adjusted his glasses and said no. It was a market correction. Uncertainty costs money. Trump created uncertainty. Therefore, Trump created the cost. Capitalist logic turned into a chokehold. In Canada, Carney's approval ratings surged. Years of trade pressure suddenly answered with precision. And he didn't stop there. He bypassed Trump entirely, speaking directly with governors across the Northeast. His message was simple. Convince your president to stand down, and prices fall. He's splitting the US from the inside. Now let's bring this down to street level. For a factory owner in Ohio, electricity costs jump from $15,000 a month to $65,000. He either raises prices or lays off workers. For hospitals in Boston, backup generators burn diesel and last 48 hours. Surgeries are cancelled. Equipment risks failure. Lives are on the line. Crypto mines in upstate New York shut down instantly. Power now costs more than the Bitcoin they produce. Trains slow. Commutes stretch. The Northeast economy grinds down. And the bill hasn't even hit yet. Utilities will pass these costs straight to consumers. Analysts say household bills could jump hundreds of dollars in a month. Trump's tax cuts vanish overnight. And the world is watching. China's media is already framing this as proof of American decline. Europe is nervous. If the US can't manage Canada, how does it handle Russia or Iran? The dollar dipped. Markets hate instability. Carney didn't just raise prices. He exposed a weakness. America isn't energy independent. It's energy interdependent. And by attacking that reality, Trump revealed it to the world. So how does this end? 3 paths. Capitulation. Trump backs down, declares victory. Prices fall. Escalation. Borders close, assets freeze, Canada cuts power entirely. Recession follows. Or political revolt. Trump's own party forces normalization. Right now, with tempers flaring, escalation looks dangerously real. Tonight, when you flip your light switch, don't take it for granted. That light exists because of trust, treaties, and cooperation. Trump tried to rip that apart. Carney proved the system is stronger than one man. The grid is flickering, prices are rising, and somewhere in Quebec, turbines keep spinning, waiting for America to choose sense over ego.